Hey guys, welcome back to virtual session and today's topic for session that is CSS. Now let us understand firstly what is CSS. CSS is abbreviated for Cascaded Style Sheets. Now we need to know the purpose for what reason we'll be using CSS. Let me explain you in a brief manner. Now, as we know, guys, uh, we understand that HTML provides us various tags by which we can able to design the web pages. Now, what are the contents of web pages? Means, as a developer, whatever I want to put onto the web, we embed them into the onto the web by using various HTML tags. Means, first of all, the entire data which you want to put onto the web, we will wrap in a HTML heads, body tags over there. We define the paragraph, and that entire text will be appear onto the web. But the contents of web is different, and the formatting of that contents is different. Today we are going to discuss about how we can format these contents. Right? Let us understand, if your contents of the paragraph should look like a specific color, specific font size, underline, bold, whatever, then what you will do? You will use another HTML tags to make it bold, italics, and font color and all. Now you are right. By using that, you can able to format that particular text on the web. But the challenge is, website is a collection of various web pages, and if you apply text formatting HTML tags to format the text, so the code become lengthy, and once the code become lengthy, it times to load, it takes time to load, it takes time to download, even get downloads. So if you write the lengthy HTML formatting code, it become a limitation, because as you know, in case of web pages, that all the web pages are not actually available on the local machine, that all the web contents has to be travel from the web server wherever that web server in the world and get downloaded on your machine, and your browser as an interpreter interprets that entire HTML tags and make that web page available to you. So if the HTML contents are lengthy, so the data packets will become heavier, and it will take time to get loaded on your machine and get the result. Now, no one in the web will prefer that your web page is taking a lot of time to load. everybody needs, everybody expects that if I type something and directly it has to be appear, I should interact in the web in such a manner. So this is point number one, why CSS is used. Your question is very right. Yes, we learn and explore various HTML tag to make a text bold, italics, font, background color, everything. Means if someone asks, can I able to format my web contents by using simply HTML tag and without using CSS? The answer is yes, you can. But there are certain limitations. What those limitations are? If you are formatting a page number 1, let's say index.html, and you had added 200 extra lines of HTML to format that text. Now, these formatted settings will not apply to the next page. Now, the setting which the formatted setting, the collection of formatting which you applied in the index.html will not apply to the login.html, will not apply to the register.html, will not apply to the contact.html. Are you getting my point clear? So means again and again you have to write the excess amount of HTML code on every page. Instead, what I will do, I'm having the web contents, and to format that web contents, I'm creating another file. That file is called a .css file, and that .css file, if I apply to every web page as per the formatted setting defined in the CSS file, if my entire web page is started appearing like that, then my formatting of that particular HTML page contents or HTML tags will become, it shrinks, it becomes smaller, and my external CSS, or we'll be discussing about that, my CSS will take care of that formatting the web page. So what the advantage will get? My index.html, my login.html, my register.html, and all other pages, contact, services, products, whatever pages you are designing, my one CSS file I can apply to all the HTML pages. So define once, use many times. That is one advantage. One advantage I already discussed, that the loading time, right, because of the length get reduced, which was required for formatting that web contents, that reduces. So the loading time will be enhanced, lesser loading time required. Second, I can define the formatted setting once and apply to all the web pages. Third is define once and apply many times. The third advantage what I will get, I am working on this current web project. So after performing lot of hard work, we did the formatted setting, and this CSS file I can apply in another project also. That is called as reusability. Means I can reuse this CSS file in every pages so that every web page will look uniform. Are you getting my point? The web users expects that every web page should look uniform, common. Just like if you go to any college, or if you go to any organizations, if everyone, they are individual, but everyone wears a common attire, right? Everyone have their own patches, everyone have the common, so it looks uniform. And believe me one thing, if you visit to every web page and if the alignment of, if the background color, contents are different. In the colleges, students are different. In the organizations, employees are different, but they have a common uniform. That is, in that reference I am calling uniform. So if the formatted setting of every web page is uniform, is common, it looks beautiful. And that is what the advantage of CSS. We can do it by using individual HTML tags as well, but it takes a lot of efforts. The code become lengthy. So rather, why not HTML pages having only the contents? Getting my point? And just apply the CSS so that that contents will be started appearing as per the CSS. Right? So you can reduce the loading time, the length of the code you can reduce, you can define once, refer many times, it becomes your own library, own formatted setting, you can use it in the next projects also. So these all advantages, okay, we will receiving by using CSS. So it will be the great discussion today, okay. By using CSS, it saves time, is page load faster, easy maintenance, superior style of HTML, multiple device compatibility, global web standards. These all advantages we are getting in CSS. So you guys will enjoy this session today. Okay, what is the use of CSS and how to apply this CSS to the HTML content so that entire web page, okay, it's like it's a logic of formatted settings. Once you apply entire things, entire web content will started look like that, and that is what exactly CSS means. Hope you are excited to learn about this CSS. Now, once we understand that what CSS will do for us, okay, and what are the advantages of CSS, let's go for now the syntaxes level. Let's go for how I can create my own CSS and all. Now, as you know that H1, body, P for paragraph, every HTML tags have a certain purpose in the HTML. Now, if you want to format them so that contents of that particular HTML tags or the properties of that particular HTML tags, you can set it. For example, if you think that okay, we are having a table tag by which we can define the tabular arrangement of a data. We have the attributes of the table row, table data, table head and all. Now, if you want to set property of that table as a, what is the selector? Selector means what is that HTML tag? Table. In this manner, you have a selector as a body, you have a selector as a H1, you have a selector as a paragraph, sort of. So selector as a table, you have a property called as border, means you want to set the properties of a border. Table is a selector. You want to set a property of a border. Then what will be the property of a border? For formatting, you are setting 1px solid, and this is the color code. Means if you want a border of the table of a size 1px, okay, and it has to be solid fill with this particular color. So you can define this. You can define this in a CSS, okay, and as per these declarations of the values, your table border will be appear. So in CSS, you can define in this manner every HTML tag properties and values, h1, body, paragraph, everything, how it should look, what will be the formatted settings for that, you can able to set it. Hope you get my point. So you can define in this manner selector and the property and the values you can declare in this manner. So the syntax is table, then you got the left curly bracket, the property you have to define, then you have a colon. This is the standard syntax of writing CSS, right? Table, okay, then left curly bracket, the property, border, colon, and then you define that, and then you have a semicolon, and then complete that particular the syntax. So this will become a standard syntax of CSS. While creating CSS, you can make a selector, define the property, and make the declaration of it. Hope you got it clear. So this is the standard rules of CSS while defining that style of that particular selector. Okay. Now this is for one selector. Now if you go with a multiple style rules, means like let us say that you define only for the table border, okay, but if you want to set, let us say h1 means the heading style, you want it set a color, not only color but the font weight, the letter spacing, the margin bottom, the text transformation, lowercase and all. Now here color is, this is hash, means the color code. If you want to know about the color codes, you can go to you can search it out for the color codes. Okay, it's a hexadecimal values of that code over there. Because guys, we are using only the standard, we know the standard colors, red, blue, green and all, orange and all. But if you need to combinations of, if you want to create a combination of various colors, then there are color codes are available, or you can even able to generate the color codes by which you can, and that color code you can apply. There's many combination of colors you can generate as per your requirement, and that you can specify over here. So color, this is the color code. Font weight as a normal. Now letter spacing is 0.4 em. Now em is a unit. Let's understand, em is a unit. It is abbreviated for express margin. So let us say 2 em. What is called 2 em? 2 em means, as I said, it's a em is a unit for margin, or unit for the size sort of. So 2 em means whatever the size of normal multiplied by 2, that is 2 em. So express margin, it's a unit of that. So letter spacing, the spacing between the two respective letters has to be 0.4 em. Margin bottom means like from the bottom it has to be kept the margin of 1 em, right? So this is how one selector, one HTML tag have this much kind of multiple style rules that you can set. At the same time, you can go with the grouping selectors as well. What do you mean grouping selectors? Means h1, h2, h3 means not only the h1. If you want to set the style of, by separating comma, as we know that h1 heading style is the first heading style. In this manner there are more 5 to 6 heading styles are there. So if you want that h1, h2, h3, these all should have this common style, you can go for that also. You can apply in this manner also. You get my point clear? Earlier we discussed about how we can select a HTML tag, then called selector, then the property we can define, okay, and then we can have a declaration of that. Here in this way we can one property, one selector, you can go to multiple style rules, and you can we can set a group also, and for that group by separating comma also define the style. Hope you understand it. After that, let us take one example. Okay, here how to apply the style sheet. Right now, to apply the style sheet, in the head section, I'm writing over here style type equal to text slash css, media equal to all. If you can define only style also, that works, but let us consider for this example. I'll be elaborate more when we demo the code over here. So to apply the style sheet to HTML page, what you have to do, in the head section you have to write style type equal to text slash css and media equals to all. Means for the all browsers and all it will be applicable. Body, I'm defining the style sheet for the body background color is the specific color linen, and then your h1 heading style will be the color is maroon, margin left, and the points over there. Means like if I want to define a style for body and the as well as your heading one, and then after that if I write my body sections and the heading sections, automatically, like look at the result now, what you will get. Here is the result, right? So heading, this is a heading, will get apply the color maroon and the margin over there, and the paragraph, as we haven't defined any style for paragraph, it will be look like a normal text. Right, at the same time, okay, if you check it in the browser, the background color also of that entire body will be appear like this. So what we need to do, we need to define, if you want to define a style sheet, if you want to assign a style sheet to that particular web page, what you have to do, go in the head section. Okay, this kind of styling is called as internal style sheet. We'll be discussing in the next discussions, in the like coming discussions, okay, what are the various styles of style sheet. But here this kind of embedding style sheet is called as internal CSS. So in the head section you define all the CSS style, and just that style sheet will be get applied to the entire web page over there. Hope you understand it. Now okay, now here is we need to discuss about types of CSS. As we come to know what is CSS, advantages of CSS, then we learn about how we can apply the style to the individual elements. Then we apply if one selector and the multiple properties and grouping of it. Now we need to move towards the various types of style sheets. Style sheets are actually divided into various styles like inline, internal and external. Inline means just like you specify the table border, means there and there only. Inline, you can define the style of that particular HTML tag there and there only. That is inline. Internal means we just take a previous example. In the head section, we had written that all the body, h1 and all properties and values, right, and declarations. That is called as internal. And external means we will create this entire formatted settings. Okay, we can define for the selectors, we can define for the class, we can define for the for the IDs. I'll be helping you out. What do you mean by the class and the IDs? This entire things we are collecting together. That entire logic of formatted settings we are collecting together in .css file. Guys, CSS files have an have an extension that is called as, just like HTML file have an extension .html. In the similar manner, a developer will write that entire formatted settings CSS contents, where he define the selectors, where he define the classes, where he define the IDs, okay, and that entire things he will store in one file that is called as .css, and then he will apply that .css file by using a link tag. We'll be discussing very soon how to apply that CSS file. Once it apply that CSS file, it take the references from that CSS file, and the entire web contents will be appear like that. And that is what exactly the use of external. So CSS is actually used, okay, as a various types called as inline. Define the style in one line. Internal, you got the head sections called the styling, and external means in the head section you are defining the reference, but actually entire contents of the formatted settings is available in a separate file, is an individual file, and from where you are borrowing that entire formatted setting, and that is called as external CSS. Hope you understand it. We'll be discussing these entire things by example. Now here is one example of an internal CSS, right? So here this is the example of inline, okay, not internal. Inline means inline CSS contents means like where you are defining everything in one line. Just like you want to define the paragraph styling. Let us understand P style equals to, this is the color, this is the font size, this is the font style, and text alignment. So this entire style is applicable for that particular paragraph only. Are you getting me? This is inline, means there is no the entire style sheet is defined. We are defining a style of individual selector, whether it's a paragraph, body, H1 or any other tags, and that is exactly called as inline. Hope you understand the meaning of inline style sheet, right? The next one is your, this is, we already discussed about, this is your internal style sheet. Internal style sheet means here we define a class called as main. Now while defining class, in the head section, in the style, we define a class. Class means it's a user defined, means instead of predefined selector like a table, H1, body, right, paragraph, now I want to define a class. So whichever means I define a class over here as .main, .gfg, .geeks, whichever, it's a user defined. I can name it as a ABC, PQR element. So the formatted setting of a main class will be text align, will be center. Formatted setting of the GFG, capital GFG class. Now, as I said, these are the user defined keywords, user defined words. Okay, so to classify the division, we are using it. So I define, and let us understand, I define a class called as main, GFG and geeks. Now main have a text. If I say division class equals to main, division class equals to main, and like and then I write the contents. So the entire contents of that division will be in the center. You got me clear? Means I can define my own classes, right? So I'm defining here dot, and while defining classes in the style sheet, you have to write in the dot, and while defining IDs in the style sheet, you have to go with the hash. We'll discuss that. So in the style sheet, I'm having three classes: .main, .gfg, .geeks, and their respective formatted settings are available over here. right? Then look here. In the body, we apply that CSS. Division class equals to main. Now just refer it over here. Here we define a class main by in the style sheet dot main, and here we use it division class equals to main. Once you write division class equals to main, what is the property of a main? Text alignment. Text alignment as a center. So this entire body contents will become to the center. Hope you understand me, right? Next is division class equal to GFG. Now this Axiom Tech Guru Private Limited will be get applied the formatted setting of GFG. So here GFG's color is so and so, font is so and so, font weight is what is. This entire formatted setting will be applied to the division, and then this the entire in the similar manner the settings of gigs will be applied to this. We are practicing CSS. So, and we can define division within division, right? So the entire web contents will be in the center. By using the formatted setting of GFG, Axiom Tech Guru Private Limited will be appear like that, and we are practicing CSS. This contents will be applicable, will be get the formatted setting from the gigs. You understand it, guys? So this is what this is the example of internal CSS. In internal CSS, again you can even able to define. Obviously this is not inline, so you cannot write the on the every lines. You have to define the classes. So I define the classes in the style and I apply those classes. While defining CSS, you can go with the, you can define the style of H1 text, that is clear. The what is called as selector and their properties, that is one thing. Second, if you want to have your user defined classes, you can. At the same time, we'll be learning about how we can define our IDs also. So hope this concept is clear to you, how to define internally the classes and apply to them in the division. Clear? Okay. Now this is an example of external CSS. As I just discussed with you guys, we are discussing the type of CSS. Type of CSS means inline, internal, and now we are coming to the external. External means I am defining this entire formatted setting in an individual file which is having a .css extension, and I will borrow that, I will import that, I will link that particular CSS to my HTML, and this is the best way. Because why we are doing this all the exercise? To shorten the code, right? So that my web contents will be downloaded faster, and that external CSS will format it, okay, at the runtime. At the same time, this CSS which I am producing, I should able to reuse it. I should able to apply it to the other pages as well as other projects as well. So external CSS is the only last target of that CSS. But for the learning purpose, we have to start with the inline, we have to start with the external, and then we can go with the external CSS, right? So in the external CSS, here let us understand, we saved it by the gigs.css. Gig.css is the name of the file, and here we define body, okay, the style of the body. Then we are defining over the class called as main, GFG, and just we discuss one thing, okay, if you there are, while defining user defined formatted settings, you can define the class and you can define the ID. While defining ID, you have to go with the hash, and while defining class, you have to go with the dots, and while defining the default selector of HTML, then you can directly write it body, H1, table, and all. You understand it now? Means while defining style sheets, you can use selectors as it is and set their properties. You can define the classes by dot and user defined class name, and if you want to define the ID, then you can go with the go with the hash. And this entire formatted settings, okay, what is the like syntax of how syntax of style rule? Selector, okay, and then you got a curly bracket, then property colon, and then you have to set the end semicolon and close it. So this is the syntax of it. So in the same manner you have to follow this all the syntaxes, okay, and define your CSS. Now I want to apply it because I'm having a git.css which is available in the package. I want to, for applying reason, there is a link and href you have to use. So in the head section, link relational equal to style sheet. Okay, we are this is the standard attribute of link tag. Link relation equal to style sheet, and href hyper reference equals to name of the CSS file. So the CSS file which you created and stored with that all the selectors, classes, and your IDs, got the point, will be actually get imported to your current web page where you like this link relational equals to style sheet and href equal to so and so. Now division class equals to main, everything is center aligned. Division class equal to gfg, that formatted settings will be there. ID, now here class means starts with a dot, and if you have an ID, this is also another way of applying the style sheet. You can go with the ID equals to gigs. So this entire things will be applied like this. So here we learn how we separate my .css file by any name over there and then apply it to the HTML page. So in this manner, now if I apply this one single line is required in the head sections on the every web page. One CSS, only one CSS file, and then I have to just write a single line of code in every pages. Automatically all the web pages will be get the style which I defined in the particular .css file. Get my point clear, guys? So he will automatically you get the results like this. Okay, so let's have a demonstration of it, because up till now what we, let's have a quick reminder, quick review of everything. We discuss about what is CSS, advantages of CSS. We discuss about how we can define the selector and the properties and values. We discuss about how we can one selector with the multiple style rules. We discuss about how we are grouping all the various selectors together. We discuss about how we can have a style rules and apply to it. Then we discuss about the various types of CSS. Okay, that was inline, defined in one line. Internal, in the head sections you are defining it, and in the external means you are defining in a separate individual .css file. And what the collection of CSS will be? Your selectors and their properties and values. Then you got the classes starting by dot, and then you got the IDs starting with hash. And then you have to apply it like this by link relation equal to style sheets and href equals to that name of the .css file. That entire settings, formatted settings, will be get imported to your HTML page, and HTML page will look like that. And in this manner, your entire website you can make it uniform, and at the same time you can use the .css, whatever the number of efforts you are taken to develop the CSS, you can borrow it, you can carry it to the another projects as well. Let's go for one demonstration now. Now we are excited enough to have a good working demo on it, right? So for that reason, and guys, I need to go to I'm using a Visual Source Code. I'll go to the command prompt. I'm creating a folder called as demo CSS, and I'm going to load it. Now my Visual Source Code is going to load. It will take some time to load. Okay, but no worries, will be okay. Now here it is. Now I created the HTML file, okay, by the name of mydemo.html, and as I said, I'm going to link that HTML file here. Link relation equals to style sheet, href equals to mystyle.css. I produce a style sheet. I will be explaining you, and division class main, here I use it. But first of all, let us go for the mystyle.css. Now mystyle.css is the CSS file. Body background color is so and so. Now this is what just a demo examples. You can have a multiple properties, okay, define over here for the body, central line and all the stuff if you want. Okay, so body, then we have a class called as main, we have a class called as axiom, we have a class called as TechGuru, right? So you, as I said, you can define the classes, you can define the IDs. These are user defined. You can have your own words to define the classes, okay, but you have to write such a word that you can by using those classes or the IDs in the HTML, you can recollect that. That is the main idea. Anyway, so then you go to the mydemo.html, you link your mystyle.css. It is obvious that your HTML file and CSS file has to be in the one folder, so that it can be imported. So here link referral relations equal to style sheet and href equals to mystyle.css. We already discussed what are the contents of mystyle.css, right? So this entire, now here it is division class equals to main. Division class to means whatever the contents of this division, it will pick up the style sheet of, it will pick up the style of body, it will pick up the style of main class. Okay, body already having a it will pick up the body, will pick up the formatted setting from the body, main class. Okay, so this division, now these two internal divisions will have the style of this main, alignment equal to center, so everything will be center aligned. And then this axiom class, what is the format setting of axiom class? Color, font and width, and this will be get applied to this text, and then it is referring the formatted style of TechGuru. TechGuru is an ID. Okay, so yeah, while defining, you can define the class by dot and you can define ID by hash. So here, while applying that, just wait. Load again. Here it is. Yes. So in the mydemo.html, okay, it will pick up the style defined in the main, as well as ID TechGuru, as well as the entire formatted setting of mystyle.css will be appear over here, right? So let us check it out. What will be the result of this? Okay, so here it's a demo CSS, and here my demo is a name of HTML file. If I run it in the Google Chrome, look at the result, right? So as a main class, body will be pick up the background color. Here we define everything. Okay, I need to refer. Yeah, body is background color, that is powder blue, will be appear. After that, this division in the main class, Okay, the main division in is a main, so everything will be aligned to center. So I'll get the result in the center line, and then here is the result of axiom class. Okay, and here the result of take guru id. So this simple and one example will help you out how we can internally able to link the css file which I produce and link to the, means like if I apply this css file to whichever the page I define, automatically that entire page will started appearing like this, and then hence every web page where the contents will be the different, but their appearance and formatted setting will look uniform. I hope you enjoy these sessions, and I try to explain everything about that CSS over there. See you soon, guys. Thank you very much.